7 years. That's how long some media insiders think it'll take for the lights to go out on cable news as we know it. Not just CNN's having a rough quarter. We're talking ratings in free fall, billion-dollar mergers, and a future where the algorithm, not Anderson Cooper, decides what you see about war, elections, and AI. I'm Thomas Paul. This is the comment section, and today we're talking about CNN's collapse, why cable news is dying fast, and what actually changes for you, your job, and your politics when the old media gatekeepers go broke. Here's where things get interesting. Let's start with CNN, because they're basically the poster child of this meltdown. Their ratings have been sliding for years. Primetime shows that used to pull in millions are now getting crushed by random YouTube streamers in a bedroom with a half-broken ring light. Advertisers see that, and they bail. When ads leave, the bosses panic. So they start cutting staff, slashing budgets, and chasing whatever outrage spike can still get a few boomers to stop channel surfing. But it's even getting worse. Behind the scenes, the big media companies that own these cable channels used to treat news as a loss leader. Translation: we'll lose money on news, but it helps us push our politics and keep access to power. It was basically a paid megaphone for the political class. Now, the new guys in charge are like, nope, make it profitable or we cut it. That's why you're seeing layoffs, cost-cutting, and talk of spinning cable news networks into little side stocks that quietly die in the corner. Here's where things get interesting. For CNN, they're caught in the middle of giant corporate chess. One path, they get spun off into a separate tracking stock that Wall Street mostly ignores. That's like being sent to a retirement home with no visitors. The other path, a new owner comes in and says, we're going to drag CNN toward the center and make it boring but profitable. To be clear, center doesn't mean neutral. It usually means safe for advertisers, less harsh on corporations, less aggressive on war, healthcare, labor, and tech monopolies, more vibes, less structural critique. And here's where things take a step further, because while cable is bleeding out, your attention is going somewhere. It's going to podcasts, TikTok explainers, Discord servers, and niche YouTube channels. Instead of 3 official news voices, you now have thousands of micro voices fighting for your scroll. That sounds democratic, until you realize those voices still run on algorithms owned by a few giants. So instead of CNN executives deciding what's news, it's recommendation engines optimized for watch time and ad dollars. But then the unbelievable thing happened. Podcast networks and independent creators started pulling bigger audiences than legacy cable. A random 2-hour conversation on foreign policy or AI can outrank a polished multi-million-dollar TV show. And advertisers? They follow where the eyeballs go. This is where my own experience lines up. In my early 30s, I stopped chasing the buzzy next big thing and put real money into something boring and unfashionable. It didn't explode overnight, but it worked. Slowly. That's why when I see media bosses chasing quick clicks and viral fights, I know that's not a real business model. It's a slow-motion crash. Here's where things get interesting. So what does the cable news collapse actually change for you? First, how you learn about AI. 5 years ago, if there was a huge breakthrough or a catastrophic AI failure, it went through cable first. Now, by the time CNN figures out what large language model even means, you've already seen 5 breakdowns on TikTok and a Twitter thread with screenshots and receipts. That speed is powerful. It lets workers, organizers, and regular people react in real time when companies start rolling out AI tools that kill jobs, slash wages, or turbocharge surveillance. But it's even getting worse because the same collapse that kills cable also kills a lot of fact-checking. Newsrooms are shrinking. Investigative teams are expensive. Meanwhile, propaganda is cheap, AI-generated, and can be pumped out at scale. So you get this weird world where the old gatekeeper is dying, but the new freedom is just you drowning in content, trying to figure out if that clip of a politician saying the quiet part out loud is real, edited, or AI faked. And here's where things take a step further. As AI gets better, media companies are already using it to cut even more costs. Auto-written articles, AI anchors, automated B-roll. On its own, that's not evil. But in a profit-obsessed, debt-loaded media empire, AI becomes one more excuse to fire humans and crank up volume. This is why the ownership question matters. When a handful of billionaires and private equity funds own most of news and they're terrified of losing money, they lean toward content that keeps advertisers happy. That usually means soft-pedaling critiques of capitalism, big tech, landlords, and war contractors. But then he said this unbelievable thing you'll hear some media execs claim they're just following the audience, and that if people cared about serious issues, they'd watch more serious coverage. That's rich, coming from people who spent decades training us to expect shouting matches and horse race polls instead of deep dives. Here's where things get interesting. So what should you actually watch for next? Number 1. Watch where the journalists go when these cable networks cut staff. A lot of talented reporters are already leaving to start Substacks, podcasts, or join smaller, more mission-driven outlets. Follow the people, not the logo. Number 2. Pay attention to creditor pressure. When a media company is drowning in debt, the news division becomes a tool to impress investors and regulators, not inform you. If they're constantly restructuring and spinning off assets, assume editorial independence is getting weaker. But it's even getting worse. Number 3. AI plus politics. As AI tools flood into newsrooms and campaigns, expect more synthetic politicians, scripted authenticity, and hyper-targeted messaging. The less you trust cable, the more tempting those micro-targeted narratives become. And that's where your power actually grows. Because you don't need cable's permission to build your own information ecosystem. Group chats, Discords, Mastodon, worker Slack channels, local mutual aid groups. These are all tiny news networks if you treat them that way. Here's where things get interesting. Quick note on how this video exists in the first place. This episode was created with Fludge.io, the same system that powers this entire channel. If you're watching and thinking, I'd love to run a YouTube channel like this, but I don't want to be on camera, this is exactly for you. Fludge researches, writes scripts, builds thumbnails, uses an AI avatar, and uploads to YouTube automatically. Your job is to review the quality and hit publish. You can jump in at any step, give feedback, steer the style, and over time it gets better with each video. Any niche, finance, news, AI, history, hobbies, no camera, no editing, no 3 a.m. research rabbit holes. It's not some low-effort spam generator. If it were, you wouldn't still be here watching. If that sounds interesting, check out Fludge.io. Link is in the description. But then the unbelievable thing happened. Let's zoom out. CNN collapsing isn't just schadenfreude for people who hate cable. It's a sign that the entire 20th century media model is cracking. And whenever an old gatekeeper falls, 2 things rush in: chaos and opportunity. Chaos because lies spread faster, and the people who already hold power will absolutely use that chaos to their advantage. Opportunity because it's now cheaper than ever for normal people, workers, organizers, teachers, nurses, to build platforms, tell their own stories, and challenge billionaire narratives directly. And here's where things take a step further. The real question isn't will CNN survive? It's who controls the next CNN? Is it still billionaires with nicer fonts and more apps? Or is it networks of smaller, accountable creators who have to earn your trust every day? That's where you come in. What you watch, share, and fund decides what replaces cable. If you only reward rage bait and conspiracy stuff, that's what you'll get. If you back outlets that actually explain AI, labor, and policy in a clear, honest way, you slowly build something better. Last thing before we wrap up, none of this is financial or investment advice. Do your own research, talk to a professional if you need one, and never invest money based solely on something you heard on YouTube, including this channel. So I want to hear from you. When was the last time you watched CNN or any cable news on purpose? And who do you trust more now? Independent creators, podcasts, or still the big networks? Drop your answers and hot takes in the comments. If you found this breakdown useful, hit subscribe, tap like, and share this with one friend who still leaves cable news on in the background like it's 2005. I'm Thomas Paul. This is the comment section, and I'll see you in the next one.